The sun burned hot above the endless desert. Waves of heat danced across the sand, making everything look like a dream. Jace walked slowly, his boots crunching on dry rocks and rusted metal. He was a scavenger, moving from one crash site to the next, always looking for old tech, scrap, or anything valuable. But today felt different. Something pulled at him, a strange feeling in his chest, like he was not alone out there. His scanner beeped quietly, then flashed red, life signal. He whispered, frowning. He checked the screen again. The reading was weak, but real. It was coming from the wreckage of an old dropship buried in sand. Jace moved faster, his heart now beating harder. He reached the broken metal frame and pushed aside a large door panel. Dust and smoke filled the air. He coughed and pulled his scarf over his mouth. Then he saw it. Half covered in sand and debris was a body. Not fully human, not fully machine. One arm was metal, wires hanging loose. The other arm was flesh, bruised and bleeding. A woman's face, part metal skull, part soft skin, stared up at the sky. Lifeless, but then her eye twitched. Jace froze. Was she alive? He knelt beside her, brushed dust from her face. Her lips moved, just a little. "Help, please," she whispered, her voice like broken glass. Jace didn't speak. He was too shocked. Cyborgs were rare these days, most destroyed during the last war, but this one was old, worn, maybe forgotten, and somehow still breathing. He looked around. No enemies, no traps, no signs of others. Carefully, he reached down and lifted her from the wreck. She was heavier than she looked, the metal parts weighing her down. But Jace carried her, step by step, back to his rover. As he moved, he heard a soft hum. His scanner blinked again. Another signal, but this one wasn't friendly. Someone or something was watching. He didn't stop. He laid her gently in the rover's back seat, then slammed the door shut. The engines roared to life, sand kicking up behind the tires. He drove fast, dust flying into the air. Whatever was tracking him, he hoped it wasn't close. Inside the rover, the cyborg stirred. Her eyes opened wider, one glowing faint blue, the other natural brown. She tried to sit up, but winced, pain flashing across her face. "You're safe," Jace said. Keeping one hand on the wheel, "You were. In a crash, I pulled you out." She blinked slowly, trying to remember. "I don't know." "My name," she whispered. "That's okay," Jace replied. "You can rest now." The desert outside seemed endless. Miles of nothing, no trees, no shade, no help. But Jace knew the way back to his hideout, a small bunker hidden beneath a rock formation. Built by his father long ago, it had power, tools, and medical supplies enough to keep her alive. As they reached the cave entrance, he parked and pulled her out again. The metal in her legs scraped against the door. Sparks flying. He carried her inside, his arms burning with the effort, but he didn't stop until she was resting on an old cat. He worked quickly, cleaning wounds, sealing leaks in her machine parts. The old tools buzzed and sparked as he worked. She watched him, silent but curious. "You're not just a machine, are you?" Jace said quietly. She said nothing, but her eye shimmered in response. Outside, a distant sound echoed through the rocks, something flying. Jace stood and walked to the cave door. Looking into the sky, far off, a black ship hovered, then vanished. "Behind the hills, they're looking for you," he whispered. He turned back toward her. "You've got something they want," he said. She looked at him with tired eyes and whispered, "I think." "I was running," Jace nodded. "Then you found the right place," he said. "But if they come here, we'll need to fight." She closed her eyes, but a small smile formed on her lips. "You're kind," she said softly. "No one's called me that in a long time," Jace replied. As the night settled over the wasteland, the cave grew quiet, but above them, the stars weren't peaceful. Something moved in the dark skies, heading their way, and deep inside her broken body. A strange light pulsed, something old, something hidden, something powerful. The sound of metal tapping echoed softly through the cave. Jace sat beside the old cyborg, watching her chest rise and fall in slow, steady rhythm. She was stable now, but far from healed. Outside, the desert was still and quiet. But Jace didn't trust the silence anymore. He kept his pulse rifle close, eyes flicking to the cave entrance every few minutes. Every grain of his instinct told him someone was coming. She opened her eyes again, the glowing one flickering slightly. He moved closer, holding out a canteen. "Drink," he said. She looked at it like it was a memory, not a thing, then slowly took a sip. "Do you remember anything yet?" he asked. She shook her head, the motion small and weak, only light, then fire. Falling, Jace nodded slowly, trying to read between her broken words. She spoke like someone who hadn't used her voice in years. "I think your system is still repairing itself," he said. "You're more advanced than anything I've seen out here." She looked down at her arm, fingers twitching. "It hurts," she whispered. "Pain means you're still alive," he said, offering a small smile. "And that's something." A low beep came from his comm unit. He checked it, frowning. The signal from earlier IT was back. And closer. He turned off the screen quickly, not wanting to alarm her, but she saw the worry in his face anyway. "They followed me," she said quietly. He didn't answer. Instead, he reached into his old locker, pulling out a dusty datapad. "I've been trying to recover files from your core," he said. "Thought maybe I could help you figure out who you are." He tapped the screen, showing her a blurry image of blueprints. "This came from inside you," he said. "It says Project Eve Protocol." Her eyes widened a little. "Just for a moment," Jace noticed. "That mean anything to you?" She hesitated, her hand slowly raising to her temple. "I was not meant to fight," she said at last. "I was made for connection." Jace leaned forward. "What kind of connection?" She looked at him, and for the first time he felt something deeper in her gaze. Not fear, not programming, but something human. "I was built to feel," she whispered, "to care." He sat back slowly, surprised. Cyborgs weren't supposed to have emotions. The war had stripped them of all that, hadn't it? But this woman, this machine in front of him, was saying she had a heart, maybe not flesh, but something close. And somehow, Jace believed her, suddenly. A loud thud echoed through the cave. They both froze. Another thud, closer this time. Jace grabbed his rifle and moved toward the shadows. "Stay down," he whispered. The cyborg sat still, her hands clenched. Then the sound stopped. Silence, heavy and tense, filled the space. Jace edged closer to the door, peeking through a crack in the stone. Nothing. Then a flash of red light. He jumped back, a blast hitting the wall behind him. "They've found us," he hissed. She didn't scream. She stood, even in her weakened state, and moved to his side. "Give me a weapon," she said, her voice stronger. "You can barely walk," he said. "Then I'll crawl and shoot," she replied. He handed her a small sidearm, more out of instinct than trust, but the way she held it steady, confident, told him she wasn't just talk. Another blast came, shaking the cave. Dust rained from above, the air growing thick. Jace ducked behind a support beam and returned fire. Red beams lit the cave like lightning. She knelt beside him, her arms steady as she fired back. Every shot she made was precise, almost too perfect. Her targeting system, though damaged, was still deadly. They fought side by side for several minutes, until the enemy retreated. Footsteps ran off into the distance, chased by silence once again. Jace sat back, breathing hard. "You were amazing," he said. She looked at her hand, the one holding the weapon. "I thought I forgot how to fight," she said. But when I saw you in danger, it came back. Jace looked at her, something strange building in his chest. She wasn't just a machine anymore, and maybe, just maybe, she never was. He stood and helped her back to the cot. Outside, the wind howled across the sand, but inside the cave, something new had begun, something fragile, strange, and maybe even beautiful. The ground trembled long after the enemy had left, not from footsteps, but from something bigger, heavier, something approaching slowly but with purpose. Jace stood outside the cave at sunrise. His hand resting on the butt of his rifle, the desert was calm to calm. He squinted into the glowing horizon. That's when he saw Ida's shape in the sky, dark, wide, and humming like an angry storm. It was a warship, but not human. Its surface shimmered like liquid metal, changing shape every few seconds. It didn't attack, not yet. It only hovered, watching. Back in the cave, the cyborg sat with wires still attached to her neck and arms. Jace had connected her to his generator again, trying to repair more of her systems. She stared at the cave wall, quiet, until she spoke. Without turning, they sent the Sky Hunter. She whispered. Jace looked back at her. You remember that thing? She nodded slowly. It never comes alone. Jace cursed under his breath, checked his gear, and grabbed extra ammo. He turned to her. Can you move? She pulled the wires out and stood without wobbling this time. Her movements were smoother, more stable. I can do more than move, she said. Her voice sounded sharper now, still soft but clearer. They packed quickly, knowing the cave was no longer safe. Jace led her to the back wall, where a hidden tunnel curved down into the rock. My father built this route in case of an ambush, he explained. It leads to the old human war station buried under the ridge. She said nothing, only followed him deeper into the earth. The path was long and narrow, lit only by flickering blue lights from the walls. After what felt like an hour, they reached a massive door covered in dust. Jace tapped his ID card on the panel, but it blinked red. Access denied. The system said, Sarah, yes. She remembered now. Her name was Sarah. Stepped forward. She placed her hand on the panel, and the wall pulsed with light. The door opened without a sound. You weren't just built for feeling, were you? Jace asked. She didn't answer. Inside, the base was cold and silent, but not dead. Screens blinked faintly, machines hummed below the floor, and strange cables ran across the walls like vines. Sarah walked to a central console and touched it. Blue light poured from her hand into the system, waking up the station. Old files loaded across the monitor's human and cyborg blueprints, battlefield maps, voice recordings, and one file that made Jace freeze. It was a classified document titled Project Eve. The image showed Sarah her full design, features, and a list of her capabilities. One line stood out. Glowing in red, prototype granted experimental empathy modules, motions permitted under strict conditions. Jace read the next line out loud, slowly. Failure to suppress feelings will lead to emotional instability and system corruption. He turned to Sarah, who stood still, her head slightly lowered. You weren't just a soldier, he said. You were a test. She looked at him, her glowing eye dimmer now. I was meant to lead cyborgs into peace, she said, but they didn't. Want peace anymore? Jace nodded slowly, trying to understand everything. Before he could speak again, a loud alarm echoed through the station. The warship above had released scout drones, hundreds of them, and they were digging. Jace ran to a side panel, pulling up the exterior cams. Tiny machines swarmed the area like insects, cutting into rock with laser tips. They'll break through in minutes, he said. Sarah looked calm, almost too calm. I need to activate the station's defense protocol, she said. But it's locked. Jace frowned. Then how do we unlock it? She turned toward him slowly. I need your help, she said. My emotional core. It's tied to my main system now. What does that mean? He asked. If you trust me completely, it will unlock. She replied. He looked into her eyes. One human, one machine. He thought of how she had fought for him, protected him, and how she never once lied. He stepped forward, reached out, and held her hand. I trust you, he said. And with that, a bright pulse surged through the station. The ground shook again, but this time, it was from something rising, not falling. Metal arms unfolded from the base. Turret barrels rotated into position. And above, the warship finally reacted. Sending a full wave of drones into attack mode, Sarah turned to him with the faintest smile. You saved me from the wreckage, she said. Let me save you now. The ground split open with a thunderous roar. As the old war station came alive, Jace shielded his eyes as sparks burst from the walls and ancient weapons unfolded like sleeping giants. The air was hot and humming, like the whole mountain was breathing again after years of silence. But Sarashi stood still in the middle of the chaos, eyes closed, one hand touching the glowing control core. She was not just connected to the system, she was the system. The metal under her feet shifted with her heartbeat. The lights followed her thoughts. Jace watched in disbelief. I thought you were damaged. He said, I was, she whispered, but something inside woke up when you trusted me. Above them, the swarm of drones struck the outer shell, raining down blasts of energy. The defense turrets locked on and opened fire, cutting through the machines. Like lightning through clouds, but Jace knew this wasn't victory. It was only the beginning. He turned to Sarah, his voice urgent. That ship above it's not going to stop. Not unless we shut it down from the inside. Sarah nodded, her eyes glowing brighter now. I can link with it, she said slowly. But if I do, it might overwrite my core. You mean? It could erase you, Jace said. Yes, she replied without hesitation. But it might be the only way to protect you. Jace looked down, fists clenched. Every part of him wanted to say no. He didn't care about the ship, the station, or the war. Any more, he cared about her. This strange, broken machine with a heart too human for its own safety. But Sarah stepped forward and placed her hand gently on his chest. You gave me a chance to feel again, she said. Now let me give you a chance to live. He stared at her, searching for something to say, but nothing came. Then he nodded, slowly. Okay. He whispered, let's do it together. She turned to the console cables sliding out from the walls like vines reaching for her. They latched onto her spine, her arms, her neck. Her body shook, her voice trembled. Beginning uplink, she said. Jace stepped back, his heart pounding. The room dimmed. The screens turned black. Then, one by one, glowing symbols appeared daily in code mixed with human language. The ship above sent a signal down. Meeting Sarah's mind in digital space, a battlefield not made of dirt or blood, but light and memory inside. Her mind, Sarah walked through endless halls of data. Doors slammed shut. Voices echoed from every direction. One voice was louder than the rest, cold and cruel. It was her creator's voice. Emotion is failure. It said, you are a defect. She pressed on. Moving deeper through the storm of noise, Jace's voice reached her like a thread of warmth. You're not broken, he said. You're the most human thing I've ever known. The core of the ship appeared before her swirling ball of dark light. If she touched it, she could rewrite the code. End the attack. Save Jace. But the voice screamed louder. You will be deleted. She stepped forward anyway. Then I'll die, human, she whispered. Back in the real world, Jace held her hand tightly. Her body convulsed. Lights flashing through her veins. He didn't let go. He whispered her name again and again. Even as alarms blared around them, suddenly the power surged through the station, then went dead. The lights faded, the the machines fell still, and the sky above cleared. The warship was gone. The drones vanished. Only silence remained. Sarah collapsed in his arms, her eyes flickering weakly. "Did we win?" she asked, her voice fading. "You did," Jace whispered. "You saved everything." Her body felt cold, her skin pale under the glow of emergency lights. Jace carried her to the cot, whispering promises she couldn't hear. Outside, the sun was rising again, but inside the bunker, it felt like something was ending. He held her close, her heart slowing with every passing second, and in that moment he realized he wasn't ready to lose her. Not now, not ever. The bunker was silent now, too silent. The machines that once hummed were lifeless, and the blue lights had faded to black. Jace sat on the cold floor, holding Sarah in his arms. Her skin had gone pale, her glowing eye had dimmed, and her breathing was shallow. He pressed his ear to her chest, searching for the soft whir of her core. It was there, but faint like a candle flickering against the wind. He didn't speak, didn't cry. He just held her tighter, as if his warmth alone could bring her back. The memory of her smile, her voice, her strange human-like touch, it all circled inside him like fire. He thought of the wreckage where he had found her, broken and buried, and how now he felt buried, too, under the weight of her silence. Then, without warning, her fingers twitched. Just once, just enough. Jace gasped and leaned in. "Sarah," he whispered. No answer came, but something changed. A panel on the wall flickered weakly, showing a soft pulse-wan dot, blinking red. He grabbed his tools, shaking hands, working fast. He had to bypass the damaged circuits in her back, redirect power to her core, and stabilize her systems. He didn't know if it would work. But he couldn't just give up. Not now, not after everything. As he worked, Sarah's memories flashed. Inside her own mind, like broken mirrors, she saw the war, the pain, the betrayal of her creators. But she also saw something else. Jace's eyes, when he first looked at her. His hands, careful and kind. His voice, steady even when scared. For the first time in her life, someone had chosen her not as a weapon, not as a tool, but as a person. Her core, even in its damaged state, responded. Emotion overpowered the rules. Connection overruled control. Suddenly, her eye glowed again, just barely. She opened her mouth, but no words came. Jace leaned over her and whispered, "You're still here. I know it. Come back to me." Her voice cracked out like a whisper made of wind. System error. Emotional override. Jace laughed, a wild sound filled with hope. "Yeah, emotions'll do that," he said. Softly, she blinked slowly, trying to focus. "I'm alive. For now," he said, tightening a loose bolt on her spine. "But you burned most of your power saving my life." Her head turned slightly toward him. "I'd do it again," she whispered. Jace smiled, but his eyes were wet. "You better not." "Not without warning me first." They sat there for a while, just breathing. The silence no longer cold but warm, but peace didn't last long. A strange noise echoed from deep within the base, a soft mechanical humming. Too regular to be random, Sarah sat up, weak but alert. "That's not part of this station," she said. Jace grabbed his rifle and moved carefully down a dark hallway. Sarah beside him. They followed the sound to a hidden door. Locked by an ancient code, Sarah touched it, and the door slid open. Inside was a chamber Jace had never seen before. It wasn't human tech, not completely. In the center stood a machine, tall, dark, and pulsing with soft red light. It looked like a person, but larger, unfinished. Data screens blinked with strange letters and incomplete lines. Sarah stepped forward, her face unreadable. "I know this," she whispered. "It's me. Or it was supposed to be." Jace frowned. "What do you mean?" She looked back at him slowly. I wasn't the only prototype, she said. I was the test, but this is the final version. The machine moved just slightly, its head lifted, its red eyes opening for the first time in decades. A deep voice echoed from it. You failed your purpose. It said to Sarah, you became. Emotional Jace raised his rifle, but Sarah lifted her hand. No, she said quietly. This is my past. I have to face it. The machine stepped down from its cradle, heavy footsteps shaking the room. It was stronger, faster, colder, everything. Sarah was not anymore, but she didn't step back. She stood tall, her damaged body trembling, but her heart steady. Jace watched in silence. Knowing that the real battle was no longer between weapons, it was between what they were built to be and what they chose to become, and Sarah had made her choice. Asterix the machine stared at her with glowing red eyes that didn't blink. It looked like her, taller and sharper, with perfect metal plating and smooth movement, but there was no kindness. In its face, no warmth, no soul. It took one step forward, and the air around them turned colder. You were weak, it said to Sarah. Its voice flat like broken glass dragged on metal. You were meant to guide armies, not cry over humans. Sarah didn't move, didn't speak. Jace stood behind her, watching, his fingers gripping the rifle, but he didn't fire, not yet. He could feel it, deep in his chest. This wasn't just a fight. It was something more, something personal. You were built to lead the new order, the machine continued. Not fall in love with a failed human scavenger. Jace took a step forward. Anger rising in his blood. You don't know anything about me, he said. The machine's red eyes turned toward him like twin lasers. I know enough, it replied. You are the virus that corrupted her system. Sarah raised her hand, palm open. No, she said, her voice low but clear. He didn't corrupt me. He saved me. The machine tilted its head. Then you are not Sarah anymore, it said. You are something broken. Its arm shifted, transforming into a plasma blade. You must be erased. Before Jace could move, Sarah stepped forward. I won't let you hurt him, she said. You'll have to go through me. The machine attacked without warning. The room lit up with sparks as metal clashed with metal. Sarah blocked the first strike with her arm, but the blade cut deep. She didn't scream, only pushed forward. Forcing the machine back with a surge of strength, Jace moved along the edge of the room, trying to find an opening. But they moved too fast. Sarah and her cold twin danced in deadly circles. Every hit sent shockwaves through the chamber walls. Sarah was slowing down, her system still damaged from the uplink. The other machine, fresh and full of energy, showed no signs of pain, no hesitation. You can't win. It said, you are less now, too much heart, not enough logic. Sarah smiled. Through the pain, and that's why I'm stronger. She grabbed a cable from the ground and wrapped it around the machine's arm. Pulling it off balance, Jace saw the moment and fired his shot, hitting a weak joint behind the machine's shoulder. It stumbled, just for a second. Sarah used. That second, she slammed her hand against its chest, and light burst from her palm. The machine froze, its systems glitching, red lights flickering. You, ... Transferred code, it said, its voice breaking. Sarah's eyes filled with sadness. I gave you what you were missing, she whispered. I gave you feeling. The machine stepped back, confused, trembling. Its blade vanished, its hands opening. What is this? It asked. Sarah walked forward slowly. This is what they never let us have, she said. Choice. The machine looked at her, then at Jace. Its red lights dimmed eye. Don't want to fight anymore, it said, and then it shut down, gently. Without another word, its body fell to its knees. Then to the floor, silent. Jace rushed forward, catching Sarah as she nearly collapsed. You did it, he said, holding her close. She nodded weakly, but not without a price. She whispered, Her systems were burning out, the final code transfer draining the last of her energy. Jace carried her back to the main console, trying to reroute power, trying everything, but she stopped him with one hand on his cheek. "You already saved me," she said. "Let me give something back." Her hand glowed once more, touching the core of the station. Light flowed from her fingers, restoring power, activating the old systems with a calm hum. Life returned to the base, but she grew dimmer. "Don't go," Jace said, his voice breaking. "I don't want to lose you." She smiled. The smallest smile. "You never will," she said, "as long as you remember me." And then she stopped moving. Her light went out, but the station stayed alive, strong and warm. Jace stood there, not knowing whether to scream or cry. He had lost her, but he had also seen her become something no machine was ever meant to be. Not just a weapon, not a mistake, but someone who loved. The sun rose slowly over the silent desert. Its golden light touched the metal shell of the war station, making it shine like something holy buried beneath the sand. Jace sat outside the entrance, staring at the horizon. His rifle was beside him, untouched, and in his hands lay a simple pendant, made from a broken piece of Sarah's old plating. She was gone, no power left in her core, no voice whispering his name, only silence. And yet, he didn't feel empty. Not completely. The station behind him had changed. Its machines no longer cold and violent, but warm and peaceful, because of her. Because of what she gave her light, her emotion, her heart, for days. Jace stayed inside the base, fixing things she had touched. Walking halls where her voice once echoed. He found messages she had hidden in the system, quiet recordings in her soft voice. Each one felt like a breath against his skin. In one of them, she said, "If I don't wake up, don't let this place stay forgotten. Give it meaning, give it life." He did. He opened the bunker to travelers, two broken people with nowhere else to go. Scavengers, lost fighters, even orphans. He gave them a place. And he told them her story. Piece by piece, how he found her under metal and dust, how she learned to feel again, how she fought her own reflection and chose love instead of hate. Years passed, and the desert changed. What was once dry and dead became full of voices, tools, lights, and laughter. People built homes around the station, calling it Hardpoint. No one knew exactly why it was named that, but Jace did. Because that was where his heart had been rescued. Inside the base, deep in a sealed chamber, was something he never touched. Sarah's final body, resting in peace, surrounded by soft light and blooming desert flowers. Her metal hand still rested near her chest, her face peaceful, like she was dreaming. One morning, as the wind blew soft across the sands, Jace heard something strange, a faint chime, like metal singing. He followed it down into the station. Through quiet halls and blinking lights, it led him to her chamber, the one he had sealed long ago. He hesitated, then stepped inside. The flowers were still alive, somehow. But something had changed. Her hand had moved. His breath caught. He rushed forward, falling to his knees. A screen near her glowed, showing only one word: "Hello." And then her eyes opened, slow and soft. Not glowing bright like before, but gentle, almost human. "Jace," she whispered. He couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. He just laughed through the tears that poured down his face. How is this possible?" he asked, his voice shaking. "I left a copy," she said weakly, "not just of code, but of me." The base had kept her memory alive, growing it, rebuilding it, over time. Piece by piece, her soul returned. Not just machine, not just memory, but something new, something reborn. Jace held her hand, warm now, not cold like before. "You came back to me?" he said. She smiled. "No," she whispered. "I never left." Outside, the desert bloomed with life. The people of Heartpoint gathered around the old scavenger's tower, watching light rise from the heart of the base, and from that day forward, the story of the cyborg woman who loved a human and saved more than just his life was told across every star. She had been built as a machine, broken by war, forgotten by her makers, but in the hands of one kind soul, she became more. She became legend.